Hi everyone, it's Kim. Thanks for joining me. It's probably been a couple months now when Tim released his classic holiday collection for this year, and they are 12 dies that are from the past, where that gives us another opportunity to get the dies if we didn't get them the first time they came out. Just like Halloween, these dies are identical to the original dies that were released. And there's also two embossing folders, but they're out in a new A5 size. But I want to start with these two die sets because I use a lot of the pieces in these sets in my cards that I'm going to share today. The first one is called Festive Things, and the second one is called Mini Christmas Things. So I'll set these aside because I've used a lot of these pieces in the cards. And I want to start with one of our favorite characters, the Merry Moose. So this is another die set, the third die set that Tim released. Merry Moose. The moose himself is great, and then he has this wonderful evergreen tree. So I kept this card pretty simple. I have the moose, and I did pull the hat from Festive Things. Make sure I'm calling it right here, to adorn his head, and then I used three of the trees. The trees are so cool. You could use the trees on their own. And then for the hat, I did trim it down because it was just a little too wide for his head, kind of hung off. So I just took the scissors and trimmed it down. Now, unfortunately, I did that after the fact, after I had it on his head. So in the future, I'll make it easier and trim the sides down before I actually glue it on his head. And then for my sentiment, I didn't have a lot of room on this A2 size card, but I had this sentiment set from Karen Burniston called Small Script Christmas. And there's more than just Merry Christmas on this set, but I love it because the font is fairly small and I can get a whole sentiment in there without it being too big. And then there is a shadow die or background die, and I did not use that. I just used the letters for this sentiment. But Merry Moose is our third die set, new die set in this release. And then I love these, so I thought, what's something I always need at the holidays, and that's some gift tags. So I used just various dies from the two sets. The first one I used is this ice skate, which I love because it's not your typical ice skate, and that's from Festive Things. And then the bow is from the bell in the same set. For my tag, I just went and grabbed a die that I knew I had handy. Any tag die would work. The one that I had closest at hand was Topper Tags from Karen Burniston, and I just used the base tag. There's 4 different sizes, and because I had this piece of paper I wanted to use, it was only this wide. So I had to trim this down. So I die cut it out. I just lined it in here. Die cut it out so I had the top, and then it is what it is for the sides, and I took a corner rounder for down here. And then I just left this. It's just so small, I didn't try to round that edge. But that's fine. It works because this is double-sided paper that has words on the back of it, if I can get it separated here. It wouldn't be very easy to write on top of that, so I just cut out a second tag, same width, and I can write a message on here, to or from, a sentiment. I'm not going to do anything until I know exactly who I'm going to be sending this to, but that gives me some opportunities to do a little more on that, which it'd be hard to do on the back of the decorated tag. And then I also cut a little bigger tag out. So this is a second size tag. Again, it's on double-sided paper. For this one, I used the tree out of Festive Things and the little garland that comes with the tree. And then I also had the gift, and the gift is from the second set, and the candy cane is from the second set. Mini Christmas Things. So easy to mix and match between the two different sets. And because this is, even though it's printed on the back, it's basically one color. I think I can write on this or stamp on this and it would be very legible. So I just kept this as one tag. But I'm ready to go with a couple tags. And then I still wanted to use some of these, and I thought, oh, I'll make some gift card holders. Now, one of Tim's new dies that came out, or a classic die, is called Gift Card Package, and it looks like a gift where you can pull up, and then there's a place for a gift card. Now, I don't have that die. That's one I'm going to have to think about. Am I going to get it? But I had some other dies that I could use for gift cards. So the one I did is this envelope, and this is from Postal, and it's perfect size for a gift card. And I just used a glue dot to hold it down so I can put a gift card in there. And I decorated this with a little snowman and the cup from many Christmas things. I'll have to keep looking. Sorry about that. Many Christmas things. And then I decorated it with some snowflakes. Now, this has a snowflake, so that's one of them. But I thought, I'll put a few more on there. Another set that Tim has out is called Scribbly Snowflakes, and I thought I had that set, but I don't. So when I looked in my stash of Tim dies, I have this one, and I decided to go ahead and use this since I don't have Scribbly Snowflakes. Again, I need to make a decision about that one. This one that I'm using is called Paper Snowflakes Mini, but there's a nice assortment. The scribbly ones are like a looser, more like a hand-drawn snowflake. So get online and check out the die sets I don't have. So if you don't have them in your collection, you can make a decision as to whether you want to add them. But very easy to make that envelope. And I could stick this inside a card if I wanted to do that, if I was going to send it through the mail or just hand somebody a card, and then I could have the gift card in a special little package. And then finally, I have this one. This is another gift card holder or a little envelope from Tim. And this is called Vault Pillow Box and Bag. So these are dies from the past that are resized, but this little envelope here was perfect for a gift card. And again, I used several of the dies from these sets. This one is ideal for Starbucks. I used this cup, and let's see, the gift is from this set. So everything is from Festive Things this time. And just line those up. Can put my Starbucks card in there since that's what that cup looks like. Again, put this in a card, or I could wrap it separate, but it's ideal if I want to do a card. If, say, at work you're in a Secret Santa group, and some of these packages might be great for Secret Santas. They're easy to decorate. Now, if you're the only paper crafter in the group, that might be a giveaway as to who the Santa is, but still a fun way to do Secret Santa. And then I have a card die from Karen Burniston that I thought, these might fit perfectly on the flaps. So let me just show you this one. And I could just pull the flap in and out. But I used 7 of the different dies from these 2 sets. So we've got Santa, the tree, and the 25, all from Many Christmas Things. And then on the inside, I have the stocking, the gingerbread man, and the package for Many Christmas Things. And then over here for Festive Things, I have the mitten. So I always thought this was so cool. I can just attach this to a top of a card base. And the die for the card is called Triple Flip. Easy to put together, but yet it's pretty impressive. And then I left space down here for a sentiment. And again, not a lot of space, but I used the Word Set 3 Holiday from Karen Burniston. This is probably one of my most used sentiment sets because, again, it's a little smaller. It's not huge. And Karen does have like Merry Christmas that would cover the whole front of a card, but I love this because there's so much flexibility in how I can use it. So that is the use of these 2 die sets. I got a lot of use out of those. But let's go on to some of the colorized dies he brought back, and we're going to first start with this big guy. And I can't remember if Tim said this is his first colorized dies or one of the in the first group of colorized dies. But if you have him, There was a lot to putting him together. There's a lot of pieces to him. He makes a really, really cool Santa, and he is a large Santa, um, 4.5 by 5.5. And a couple things when you make him, the hat is separate from the head, and the head is separate from the body, which, that gives you some flexibility and to do some other things. So I just taped it together here on the back. I love him. Yes, he does take some time. If this is the first time you've done Santa, there is a video on Sizzix.com that shows how the layers go down, which is really, really helpful. One thing I've done for all the colorized dies is I printed off like the final layer, and then I have all the colors over here. Now, this one didn't help me a ton because there's so many pieces and it's kind of hard to see the white, but it did help me when I got to these teeny weeny pieces here, kind of like hot pink on the printout here. But I've done this for all of my colorized dies. So when I go back, if I haven't played with them for a while, it is helpful to see what the different layers are. And I'm just going to keep this guy in the die set, and that'll help me in the future. So like next year, if I use him again, I'll have him ready to go and I can easily see. Now the dies do leave an embossed line, so that really helps line things up as well. So I thought, let me make Santa. I'm going to do it in non-traditional pink colors. I saw a lot of pink at Halloween, so I'm thinking I'll see a lot of pink for Christmas as well. But same Santa. Now, I did do a couple things a little bit different. So you can do as the maker if you want to change things up a little bit. So Santa has a little ear, and he has this mouth. I decided to omit those. The mouth, I'm not real big on the mouth, and the ear, I thought, I don't know if that looks funny or not. So I omitted the ear, which I don't miss. And then I did put a little die here for his mouth, for his lips, and it's actually the die that goes on his nose. So like where it's highlighted on his nose, that's what I used for the mouth. And you could cut, if you want to have that for the nose too, I could cut that out again and have cut two of these out, one for there and one for his mouth. I just like this shape of the mouth better than this shape, and that's just my personal preference. Then to finish him off, because this is a card, this is just under 6 by 6 inches. For my sentiment, I've always loved this die, and I just use joy out of it. This is Festive Words. So just because I love that die, I pulled that. And this little ornament is from Mini Christmas Things. Let's see if I called that right. Yes, Mini Christmas Things. I had that made and ready to go. So you could do whatever. He's kind of looking back at something. You could do whatever you want there with Santa, but he is a neat die. Now, his head is separate. So if you want to just make his head, you could certainly do that. And I put a little wobble on it. I had that, and I thought, I'll just give his head a little shake. I don't know, maybe he's a little nervous about upcoming Christmas and will everything get done. Merry Christmas. That is another one of the sets that Tim brought back as a classic. And there's two sizes. This is the smaller one. I did do 2 layers, so I cut the word out twice so I could have a drop shadow behind it. This one is pretty easy. You could do, say you didn't want to do Santa, but you wanted to do Merry Christmas and maybe something simpler. Over here, you could do that, or you could just use Merry Christmas on an A2 size card and maybe put some other little thing. I did use an embossing folder for the background. Now I'm going to show you what I used, and then we're going to take a look at Tim's new A5 size. I don't have the new A5 size yet. So what I do have is Spellbinders linen. And this is actually the back side. So this would be what we would think of as the front side of the embossing folder compared to the back side. And I chose the back side. I like it, and it's smoother. It doesn't have kind of all these bumps. And I thought that would be easier for me to glue down that big Merry Christmas sentiment. So either side works. And then I did use the larger size just so we could compare. You can see how much bigger Merry Christmas is in the large size. And then I used the bow and just a little bit of the greenery. And the greenery, we'll take a look at that die set in a minute. This is, again, from another classic that Tim brought back. So we'll look at that here in just a sec. I used another embossing folder from Spellbinders. This one is called Dimpled. And I did the same thing. You could see the front. So all of these are embossed. They're raised. But I used the back side, again, for the same reason. It's a little smoother, and it would be easier for me to glue down Merry Christmas. Now, I could do it on the other side, but I just found it easier to use what I consider the smoother side, just to attach all those letters. So there is another one of Tim's classics, and this one is called Christmas Ribbon. There is another one called Merry and Bright. I do not have that one. It is very similar to this. The script's a little bit different, but it's more loose and not like this perfect typewriter type of font. So if Merry and Bright is a sentiment you're interested in, get online and check that one out, because we have one opportunity once again to purchase that. And let's take a look real quick at Tim's two embossing folders that he's bringing back in the A5 size. Now, I don't have the A5 size yet, but I do have the originals. So this is the first one. This is called Engraved. And if you haven't watched Tim's YouTube on this collection, I encourage you to do that. It's only about an hour long, and he goes through all the dies, and then he goes through some great samples, again, some great cards that his design team has made. So here is what it looks like. He explained on the new A5 size, it's like they enlarged this. So it's the same pattern, just enlarged. So think of, putting it on a copy machine back in the day where we made things bigger. That's kind of the same idea of an enlarged pattern. And the second one is called Kaleidoscope. I don't have the original paper from the packaging, but I do have it made up. So this is called Kaleidoscope, and I did this with some wax. So you can see the design. Now on this one, Tim explained that when they made it larger, they didn't actually enlarge the image. They made more of it. So it's an A5 size. There's just more of these on here. So these are the same size on the A5 as they are in the original, but just an overall bigger embossing folder. So I love this one too. This has gotten a lot of wear. You can see where the printed part here on the top is starting to wear off. So I have used this embossing folder many, many times, and I need to grab those two in the new A5 size while they're still available. Okay, another colorized die is Winston, our great snowman. Now, compared to Santa, Winston is a lot simpler to put together. He still has plenty of pieces, but that beard is kind of the challenging part on Santa. And Tim did talk a lot in his video about looking at these pieces separately. So like this broom, the broom could be used on its own. You don't have to just pair it with Winston. And he flipped it upside down and said, what about a broom for Halloween? Something could be riding on that. Might be a great witch's broom. So when you look at these die sets, again, pick them apart, and how can you use some of the pieces differently throughout the year? Again, I don't have scribbly snowflakes, but I do have another die that I used. We just looked at this. Again, paper snowflakes mini. And this time what I did was I cut them all out in the glittery cardstock and then in a pearl cardstock. And then on some of them, I could layer up those pieces. So I've got a piece of pearl cardstock, a pearl snowflake on top of a glitter snowflake. So I did that with a lot of them, especially the bigger ones, just to add a little more interest. But this is Winston on an A2 size card, because a lot of my cards I've shared are larger than A2 cards, just because the dies are so large. And then when I was pulling all my dies out from the past, I came across this guy, and I'm going to go ahead and share this. This is not part of this year's collection. This is an older die because I thought they're sort of similar in style that maybe I could include them together on a card. But then I thought that's going to be a really much larger card. So I decided to use this guy on his own. And he's layered up too, not quite as much as Winston. Again, this is not a new one. I had this from the past. This is called Mr. Frost. But I have found a lot of times if I get online and Google and search for whatever die set, I can find it out there somewhere at an online store. So if this is something you're interested in, even though he's not new this year, get out there and Google and see if he's still available. There's another one of those paper snowflakes. You can see this time how I layered up, if I can get it under the camera, how I layered that up. And then Let It Snow is from this die set, Festive Words. So I thought that is perfect. And there's Hello Winter. I haven't used that one yet, but Let It Snow would be perfect for a snowman or just using it with snowflakes, whatever you wanted to do there. All right, and then let's look at the last two die sets that I have. And the first one is this Fireplace. And this one has been another one I've used a lot through the years. So Fireside, and I've used some of the dies from those first two sets we looked at. This does have a garland, a ribbon, and some very simple stockings. I decided I was going to go back and use those ice skates from Festive Things. I just love those ice skates because they're so different, and maybe this is a family that likes to ice skate. So I used those. I used the candle from that as well, and the wreath, all from Festive Things. And then the last, I believe this is the last, no, this is number 11, I think that we're going through here, are the greens. And this is called Holiday Greens Mini. This is another one that I have used a lot throughout the years. So I'm glad to see he brought this back. This might be one, if you don't have it, you would want to consider it. I put the greens up here, very simple. I didn't add a lot of them just because I had so much else going on. And this garland is from this tree. I just pulled that off to decorate that a little more. That worked out good. And then the little stars are from the festive things as well. So this is, I believe, 4x7, I think. Not quite 5x7, but 4x7. I know it would fit in a 5x7 envelope. And you can do whatever you want. I sat and made a ton of fireplaces, some using embossed cardstock. And I'm sorry, this is from Tim. I don't know which one that is because that was a piece I had left. But some of them are just solid. If you had some wood grain cardstock, or you can emboss it to look wood grain, like on the packaging, think how cool that would be. So when I was making this, then I thought, oh, it was actually kind of cold that day. And I thought, wow, what would be great to do with this fireplace? Sit in front of it with a rocking chair. So here's the fireplace, smooth this time, just smooth paper. Again, I tried different colors, different styles of fireplaces. And that rocking chair, maybe you remember this from Spellbinders, the Christmas rocking chair. This is one of those things that you can use year-round and not just during the holidays, but it was the perfect size for this fireplace. So I thought I could sit myself in this chair and just enjoy it so much. There is the blanket or the quilt, whatever you want to call that. The teddy bear is also from Christmas rocking chair. And then here's some more of the greenery from the Holiday Greens Mini. So a little bigger display with the berries. And again, I just sat and die cut. So those are ready to go. And then I had just this little area for the sentiment. So I pulled out from Make It Merry Sentiments and Spellbinders, 'Tis the Season. I love these little banner sentiments. So again, this is a little larger card. I do believe it's under 6x6. So it would cost a little more in postage to mail a 6x6 card, but it is doable. Or this might be a great one to, put one of those little gift card holders with some kind of gift card in there and just hand it to somebody. Now there is one last die set, and I don't have it. It is called Snow Globe 2. Snow Globe 2. I have the original Snow Globe, just plain old Snow Globe. I didn't have this with my holiday dies. It was with my cityscape dies, just because of the village inside. I thought I'll use the houses more than I would the globe. So this one missed getting made. I'll try to get this done here in the next few weeks and play with these houses. But look at Snow Globe Tube. It's different style of houses, and it's a taller snow globe, if I recall, so a different shape. So look at that. If you're into snow globes or you love these little individual houses, check Snow Globe 2 out online as well. But that's kind of a big overview of everything that Tim brought back for us to have a chance to purchase again if we missed it the first time. Let me put this guy here. Or if you have all of these dies, which I'm sure there's a number of people that already have all these dies, you can sit and create to your heart's content and start getting ready for the December holidays, because it's going to be here before we know it. So thank you for joining me today, and I'll see you again in a future video.